I love how this is unscripted. I was told about this 5 minutes ago.
No, it really is. Hey guys, welcome to Unscripted. I am joined today by Chandley Green.
Hello.
One of our wonderful agents here. So Chandley, tell me a little bit about you and your business.
Great. So my business has been running for 7 years this October, and I got into the business in 2018 when I was in college, and honestly got into it on a whim.
Okay.
A recommendation from my dad while I was in school, and my first words were, "Nope, not for me." And then I thought about it and I was like, well, heck yeah, I'm going to give it a go. So then I got into business and finished my degree and have been doing real estate ever since.
So what was it that encouraged him or pushed him to encourage real estate for you?
I've actually never asked him that, but I think it was just sort of like he saw an opportunity for me to just use my ability to connect with people in a way to build something. I think if you ask my parents if they thought I'd own my own business, they would say absolutely. I used to play cash register in my bedroom, and I've always liked sales in that way. So I think he just might have saw one of my blind spots.
So you've grown a very thriving business, right? What are the highlights for you? What sets you apart from other agents maybe out there in the industry?
So one of my little slogans for my business is to lead with education and leave as friends. And so one of the first things that I do when I'm working with buyers or sellers or anything in between is to start with a consultation and to really let them into my world. So to me, I want to walk step in step with my clients. I want them to know the language, the lingo, and to really understand what's happening. I feel like a lot of times people sign the paperwork at closing, especially buyers, and then they're like, what just happened? You know? So I like to educate. So that's one of my, I think one of my strengths, and I've leaned into that, and that has definitely helped me build a repeat and referral business because my clients walk away knowing what happened every step of the way and knowing that they felt empowered while they were doing it. So I think that's my little superpower.
That's awesome. I think that's really a lost art and skill of going back to that tried and true presentation, for a lot of better terms, but consultation and really educating the clients and having that formalized conversation. I think all too often these days you see somebody walk in with a CMA or a couple of pieces of paper and trying to walk out with a listing, and you really need to educate people these days.
It's more important than ever, especially with how contract law is changing and agency law is changing. Like somebody have to commit to you for you to give them any level of service. And so you have to explain to them your value, and you can't ride the coattails of the industry or other agents.
No, you can't. And I think it was an NAR stat last year that said 75% of real estate agents didn't do a single transaction. So even with the lawsuit and all the mess last year, that 75% of those agents aren't even in the world enough to be educated enough to actually do a good job for their clients a lot of times.
Yeah, and just being the go-to, being the source of truth for your clients, because there's too much. Real estate is so gray. There is very little black and white to it, which I think is another reason why I love it as a career. Every day is different, every challenge is different, every client is different. But with that said, you have to have a really strong set of skills and tools and help your clients know what their tools are during this process, because you have to really, there's not just plug and play. You got to be like, okay, this is the scenario. Let's go back to the basics. You remember how all this works. This is how we're going to pull different levers and make it happen.
So if you had any advice for a new agent or an agent that hasn't had the success that they want, what would that one piece of advice if they're trying to aspire to get to your level?
My level. Well, I always feel like I'm aspiring to some other level. It never ends, but I would say to figure out what your strengths are and figure out what fills your cup and how you do business and the type of people that you work with, and really strive to create marketing and lead gen efforts that connect you with those types of people. Because the most rewarding thing you can do is work with people who want to work with you. And in the beginning, you're definitely going to have to just grin and bear it and do your best, because you need to close deals, you need to have a reputation built one way or the other. But to tap into what's already working for you, like the places that you're already involved and the relationships that you've already built, just lean into those. And your brand is your personality. And so figure out what makes you tick and what people like you for, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. No, that's great advice for any agent.
It. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on the Unscripted podcast today.
You're welcome.